Welcome, Lakeview Spartans, to your first flipped classroom video lesson. Since basically we're reaching temperatures below zero, negative integers, between today and tomorrow, I thought I would try to warm us up by showing Mrs. Carroll's favorite sport and passion of all time, and that's wake surfing. Of course, this would require 80-degree weather, sunshine, beautiful weather on Gogwak Lake, but it'll be around, spring's around the corner, I'm sure. I'm going to go ahead and switch slides. You need to pull out your listen write notes if you haven't already. Let me zoom in here so you can see them a little better. And building off what we're going to do in class on Thursday with the graphing calculator, this is a great place for you to pick up on the notes for the lesson that you're going to work on in class on Friday. In this listen write, moving straight ahead notes section, it does take us back to Henry and Emil's problem. And if you remember, that was 2.1 and 2.2. And Henry and Emil are brothers, and Emil is the older brother who has the faster walking rate. So hopefully we can remember that problem. If not, you can flip back into your book to refresh your memory. Henry's his little brother, and he's not as fast as his older brother, but yet he wants to challenge Emil to a race. So to kind of help us get thinking and started for 2.3, one of the big things that we're going to be focusing on in terms of our learning objective is how to write linear equations in the y equals mx plus b form. So to help us get along in that direction, let's think about Henry for a moment. Now Henry, we know his walking rate was 1 meter per second. So what I can do is I can write, let me switch here. Distance, his distance was equal to his walking rate of 1 meter per second times time plus the 45-meter head start that his older brother Emil gave him. Now, we were going to translate that into a general linear equation. Then we would rewrite that as d being the dependent variable. So d then would be replaced with y. And his walking rate is still 1 meter per second. And the independent variable of time would be replaced with x. And then we still need to figure in his head start. Now, this is a listen write activity, so if you need to pause at this moment to fill in these two equations, you can. That's the beauty of watching the video lesson on YouTube. You can pause at any time, but I would prefer that you have your pencil down until you heard each line that I fill in. Now, D is going to represent distance, so let's go ahead and we're going to need to fill in distance, and this is review for us. R is rate. I'm going to really have to squeeze it in here. And then T is time. You'll have probably an easier job of trying to fit it in than I am right now with using my stylus. And then Emil's equation then is distance equals, now his walking rate was 2.5 meters per second. That is a decimal there. It's having a hard time showing up. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Times time. Now Emil did not get a head start. Emil did not get a head start, so he's going to be at 0. Okay, so D equals 2.5t plus 0. And so if I were to rewrite that in linear equation format, y equals 2.5x plus 0. So again, I replace the independent dependent variable with the x and y. And that's going to help us when we learn to graph equations on our graphing calculator as well. So as we come down here, whoops, okay, I'm going to scoot this down a little bit. Still stay zoomed in so you can see it. Y then is the dependent variable. And remember, the dependent variable depends on what's going on with the independent variable. So y is a dependent variable, and that would be the distance that they walk. So that's associated with the distance. Let me erase this mark for us. We don't need that. And then m is the walking rate. So when we think about the m in the linear equation format, that's the walking rate. And then The independent variable is always x, but the walking rate that's multiplied by x is called the coefficient of x, and that's going to refer to the steepness. My S isn't fitting on there, sorry about that. And then when we continue on, so it's looking at, again, m in the y equals mx plus b format is the walking rate, and it's also referred to as the coefficient of x, and that's going to determine the steepness of our graph. And then remember, when we speak to this constant rate of change, there's another way of looking at the coefficient of x, or m. The constant rate of change is going to also be referred to as the slope. So m goes by many different terms as we work through this algebra unit. Now this is really important if you want to put a little star right here. If you have a positive slope, then the graph as you read it from left to right will have an uphill climb. If you have a negative slope, as you read the graph from left to right, it will have a downhill climb. So we're going to keep that in mind as we're working through this unit. Okay, I'm going to, whoops, sorry, slide this up a little bit and zoom in for us. Now, x is the independent variable, so let's be sure we fill that in. If you don't mind, I'm just going to abbreviate independent variable. And it is also the time in terms of seconds. Now, in the y equals mx plus b format, which is how we can express all linear equations, b is always going to be the head start, and it's also referred to as the y-intercept. So you're noticing a lot of vocabulary, new vocabulary is coming out in this lesson. So at 0 time, the y-intercept would be where x is 0, y is 45, because Henry gets that 45-meter head start. And I also suggested and left you some hints there. Where the graph crosses the y-axis, again, is where, if you notice right here, where the time is 0, Henry starts at the 45-meter head start. So let me kind of zoom out here so we can see everything. So you want to be sure that on your listen write notes that you have everything filled out correctly. And again, this is just helping to acquaint us with how linear equations can always be written in this y equals mx plus b. But I think what helps us consider doing this is relating it back to Henry and Emil's problem so that we have something to relate to it. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch slides. This is going to be the problem box that we're going to work on and explore together in teams on Friday. So this is what makes a flipped classroom so cool. So you've already watched the teaching that goes along with this lesson on your YouTube link. So when you come in on Friday, you're going to be ready to go. You can use your listen write notes as you work through the problem box. So between the skills that we learned on Thursday, your video lesson that you watched Thursday night, we're going to go right into this problem box, and you're going to need your graphing calculator. But I want to give you at least a preview of what it's going to look like. And we're working with t-shirt shops and trying to determine which shop's going to offer us the better deal depending on how many t-shirts we order. So it's a really good real-life application problem. So that's what we're going to work on tomorrow. And then what I want you to do is also look at this next resource. I just switched slides for you. But I want you to do some exploration with Khan Academy. It's a great website. I had some fun exploring it myself. But you can basically sign in as a student. And then what I would recommend is that you go to 7th grade, the 7th grade math skills section so that you can practice some 7th grade skills. You notice that I pulled up, this is a screenshot. It says graphing a line in slope-intercept form. If you're not sure really where you want to go, I would really recommend putting this in the search bar and then just having some fun learning about how to graph a line in a slope-intercept form, which is going to be one of our learning skills, as well as just practicing on this site. So this is, again, Khan Academy. You can do a Google search and just have www.khanacademy.org, I believe, and it will take you right here. Or you can just simply put in Khan Academy. And then for our last slide, this is the next resource tool I want you to have fun exploring. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the top. This is Desmos Graphing Calculator, It's a web-based graphing calculator site that you can use. I know so many of you don't have graphing calculators at home. So as a final step to this video lesson, I would like you to have some fun exploring some of the skills that we learned on Thursday on this graphing calculator website. What's cool is both of these sites are free, both Khan Academy and Desmos, and so it won't cost you anything. But again, just trying to familiarize you with some resources that are available to you. So I hope you enjoyed your first flip lesson. If you have any questions, of course, when you come into class on Friday, I'll be available, and I'm looking forward to this new adventure of learning math together. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.